Alrighty then. So today we're gonna do some lighting upgrades on the Civic Type R. This isn't all the lighting upgrades that I'm gonna be doing. I'm supposed to be getting a set of taillights, but I haven't heard back from the company yet. I sent Op7, I don't know if you've seen their taillights. They have a smoke set and a clear set. Sent them an email and they seemed all about it, but then, I don't know, I hadn't heard from them in a couple of weeks, but oh well. Today I wanted to install a couple of things. Number one, we're gonna be installing some headlight film. And this headlight film is gonna black out the headlights, and it's also gonna leave the daytime running light clear, so it kind of gives it that look like the J's Racing headlights, which are like $1,500, $1,600. Nobody wants to spend that much money on headlights, let's just be honest. Second thing I'm gonna be doing is some yellow overlays for the fog lights. I'm gonna show you how to install them, how you get it all done, some mistakes to avoid that I made. We're also gonna see if putting yellow overlays on the fog lights will actually make the light output yellow. I'm very curious about that because you can purchase, JDM yellow LED modules for the fog lights, but those are like almost 300 bucks and they're just yellow. So figured to do overlays. But the coolest one that we're gonna be installing is new side markers. Now these side markers are different and you're gonna wanna stick around until the end of the video because I'm giving a set away and I'll tell you more about how to enter that giveaway here in a minute. So these are the clear side markers for the Civic Type R. These are also available for other 10th gen Civics as well. I'll make sure to put links for everything down in the description below. So if you want to pick these up or if you want to pick up the yellow films or the headlight films, all that'll be there for you. And I'll also include some tools that I'm using to install all this stuff because you are going to need a couple of squeegees and stuff for doing the films. Now, the cool thing about these is if you look at the Euro spec Civic Type Rs, they have clear side markers. Downside is the bulbs are amber and they don't really do anything except they're daytime running lights. And here in the US, we have orange or amber, and they're just ugly. They don't really go with the styling of the car and they just look kind of awkward. You don't realize how awkward they look until you swap them out. Originally, I ordered the smoked set that these are, so they're blacked out a little bit. And then these arrived. These are the clear ones. So I was gonna send these back and just exchange them, but I figured, hey, I'll just order another set for the smoked ones, put them on my car, and then I'll do a giveaway with these. Now, what makes these special are a couple of things. Number one, these will integrate with your turn signals. They come with all the pieces that are necessary for installing these into your blinkers. I'm gonna show you how to splice into your blinker. Don't worry, it's not scary. And when you use your blinkers, they turn yellow. But when you're not using them, they just light up hyper white, just like your headlights. So that's pretty cool. So let's stop wasting time. Let's go in the garage real quick. Let's put this stuff on. Let's see if I've run into any mistakes. Then towards the end, we're gonna go over what it looks like kind of before and after, and then we're gonna talk about how you can enter to win these. In order to get the Laminex onto these fog lights, some people actually just install them while they're on the car. I think I want to get better coverage in that. So I'm actually going to take this grill out right here so that we can get access to the full light. And it's actually quite easy from what I've read. I've never done this, but I'm going to be using these panel poppers that I got from Acuity Instruments. We're just going to take them apart and see what we see. So I don't know how well you guys can see this down here, but if you look down in there, it's kind of down here underneath the grill. There is a little bitty guy down there that we got to pop out. There he is right there. All right, so with this piece right here, you're gonna notice comes out, so you wanna get hooked underneath the inside of it, not on the outside of it. Once that's there, this should just come right off. Then we have a screw right here, and then we have a screw on the inside over here. So now that we got the screw out, our fog light should come out. Then we just want to disconnect the connector, just like that. So now that we got the fog light out, we definitely need to clean it off and get any bugs or any grease or anything. I'm gonna be using some Simple Green, basically a non-corrosive, non-toxic way of cleaning stuff very well. It also gets any grease or dirt off of it. Now, there is another option if you wanna get yellow fogs. You can literally buy the LED version of this entire housing that it's already yellow from the factory. So it's got a yellow lens and everything, but they're like almost 300 bucks. And the downside though, is you can't really change out the bulbs in these because they are LEDs. So the only other option, if you want an affordable one, is to do film. These are the fog light covers that I got. I will put a link down in the description below so you guys can check that out. So basically mine, I couldn't figure out where they were, but mine were stuck face to face just like this. Now I've been told, and I don't know for sure, but I'm gonna try it today. I've been told that because these are curved, that you should do a dry application and not a wet application. Now it's gonna look like it doesn't cover it all the way, but you gotta remember that when they're behind this, a lot of it's covered up anyway, so don't worry about that. What I really liked about these yellow covers as opposed to others is they have these little plastic tabs that you can hang on to while you're installing it. And they also have air pocket, air bubble releases in here. So you don't really got to worry about the air bubbles too much because they will come out. Now doing a dry installation has its pros and cons, but essentially dry application, you can't move them around as much. So you really need to be sure on where you're gonna put these. But the cool part is, because we took the fog lights out, all you gotta do is peel it off and you can reposition it again and do it over if you didn't position it correctly the first time. And it just so happens that I can't find my freaking squeegee. So I'm gonna be using an old like gift card thing, and I'm gonna be using a real soft lens cloth actually, and I'm gonna wrap it. And this is gonna act as my squeegee to help lay it down. And so the way I'm gonna do this is I'm just gonna work my way right here. And because this is curved, we kind of have to be a little bit careful, but it's actually laying down pretty easily. Now I'm gonna take a heat gun, AKA my wife's blow dryer. I'm gonna heat them up just a tad. And there it is, completely installed. Now we just gotta do the same thing to the other side, and then we just install them the same way that we took them out. So I figured on this side we would try it without uninstalling these. I'm just gonna spray this down, and we're gonna get it all nice and cleaned up, just like we did on the other side, except we're not removing them. So we're gonna use the same exact method that we used before doing a dry installation and using the credit card with a lens cloth. And let's just see what we can get here. And so I'm gonna use these two tabs as my guide. I can already tell you, it's a bit more tedious. Got it kind of set into place here. Let's get it kind of pushed on there. I don't know if you guys can see this crease. It's kind of right here. I'm gonna have to relift this and get that crease out. So what I'm noticing here while putting it on while it's installed is I'm getting a lot of little creases that I didn't get when it was uninstalled. So I'm gonna heat this up a little bit so it's a little bit more malleable and pliable. All right, let's see if I get these creases out. Another thing I'm gonna have to do is, because these little plastic tabs are sticking out right here and over here, I'm gonna have to take my X-Acto knife and cut them and get them off. Being very careful. There's one. Now I'm gonna heat that and lay that back down. All right, let's see what these pigs look like as compared. I mean, before they're just, bright white. Let's see how much yellow they actually output. All right, so for the headlight here, we're gonna do the same thing that we did with the fog lights, except this is gonna be a wet application. We're gonna have to just get this cleaned up really well. So again, I'm gonna take my simple green, just wipe it down really good and get all the bugs, all the dirt, all the grease, all the grime off of it. Now these headlight tints that we're actually gonna be putting on actually leave the daytime running lights unsmoked. So it's actually gonna give out a really cool look in the daytime, so it won't be completely black. I just think it's gonna give it a way more aggressive look. At least I'm hoping. If not, I just wasted $17, it could be worse. Now in the instructions from the website, I'll make sure I put a link below for these, and over there they do have the instructions for them. They don't say anything about taking the bumper off or anything. It did say to lift the hood, but I don't see what good that's gonna do because this piece doesn't come up with the hood. So I'll lift the hood, but I don't know what that's actually gonna accomplish. Okay, so this is what the headlight smoke looks like. This right here is the cutout for the daytime running light. And then this right here is the cutout for these little things right here where it's risen. And essentially it should just sit right in here. It does look a little small, so I'm hoping that this stretches a little bit. I guess we'll find out. And basically when we're going to install this, we're gonna apply a mist of water to it. And it's telling us to align this edge and then also this edge up here. So we'll get those two edges aligned and we should be good to go. Let's go ahead and let's just spray it down with some water. Then we're gonna peel this off. And the cool thing is because we're doing a wet application, we can reposition this. So I'm gonna spray down this backside, get a little wet. So the first piece we're gonna try to get aligned is this bottom piece. And the cool thing is, like you can see, like it's not crazy, like it's stuck. You can slide it around a little bit. But we just wanna make sure we get all of this just really locked in solid. Now I didn't get the super dark. I just got the light smoke. Maybe I should have gotten something a little darker. But anyways, what we're gonna do here is we are going to start squeegeeing it like we did before with the others. All right, so far everything's squeegeeing and going on very nicely. The only part I'm having trouble with is right here at this edge where it told me to align that part first. So I'm just trying to figure out how I'm supposed to do this. Okay, so the heat definitely helped. Helped a whole lot actually. All right, cool. So now that we got the headlight films installed, we got the fog light films installed, we got one more thing that we need to do, and that is we're gonna be installing some switchback LED side markers. So to put these new side markers in, we gotta take these out. And before we get into this though, I wanted to go over the tools that we're gonna need. Number one, you're gonna need a box cutter if you're gonna be splicing into the blinkers. I'll show you exactly how to do that and which wire you're gonna be splicing into. And it's really not hard because in the kit, it does come with these splice connectors right here. You simply just put two wires together and squeeze these and they should be crimped together and get a connection. It also comes with 4 zip ties in the package as well. So we don't need to get those, but you will need this so that we can get access to the wires. You're gonna need a Phillips head screwdriver. You're also gonna need a set of wire crimpers, a set of wire cutters, and I'm gonna show you a couple little tricks. I'm gonna be throwing in some electrical tape. This will ensure that our wires don't wear out over time. And then I'm also gonna be using some heat shrink to protect the wires, which we'll cover that in a minute as well. So the first thing you wanna do is you wanna turn your wheels either inward or outward, whichever way works best for you. And this will give us access to these 2 screws right here, so we can get the fender liner out. So you just take your Phillips head screwdriver and you start screwing these guys out. Thankfully, we don't gotta mess with any clips or anything. So take that one out. And then right here, above this light right here, we're gonna take this one out. Cool. So what this will do is it'll allow us to get back here. You see this tab right here? We're gonna push that tab with our screwdriver. You see it? And as we push it, this should just pop on out. So once we get to this point, I'm just gonna twist this. So once you get it out to here, you're gonna depress this tab right here and you're gonna be able to dislocate the light just like that. All right, so now that we've got this out of the car, what we need to do now is pull this guy out by twisting it. All right, so once this is out, now what we need to do is we need to pull this bulb right here. We need to take this out, and I believe we just pull it just like this. Set that down. Now what we need to do is we're gonna take this wire that's on the new housing and plug it into this. You might have to play with this, but I believe that this positive red wire goes into it. So if you're looking at this from the top down, I believe the red wire goes on this side. But what you wanna do is you wanna test this. So what you do is you take this piece, plug it back into your car, go turn on your auxiliary lights, see if it works. If it doesn't, then we need to pull this out right here and then twist it in the other orientation. All right, looks like it's lighting up nice and white. Let me go turn this back off and I'll show you what we do next. So now that we know that this works, we're gonna take the zip tie off of this wire. This wire is what's gonna connect to our blinkers. You don't have to connect this to your blinker. You could just simply just snip this off and cap it. But I do wanna connect it, so I'm just gonna go ahead and release that. But we're gonna have to take care of a couple of things first. I'm gonna unhook this again. And so what I wanna do now is I wanna tuck this wire in, back into here. One thing you should keep in mind is these little tabs right here, they are size dependent. So if you look inside of here, one of these notches is larger than the other. It's the same thing when you're removing it from here. It might be a little bit difficult at first. You just gotta keep twisting until you find the right orientation. But essentially you find the right orientation and then you twist it. I'm gonna have mine where they're facing in that direction going towards this plug right here. Now, but before we get into all of that, a couple things I wanna do. Number one, we're gonna take this wire right here, and we're gonna have to feed it up through our fender liner. It's actually really easy, so don't freak out. But basically, we gotta feed it up, kind of up through here. This wire is gonna come back through here, one of these holes. Then we're gonna send it right up here, and then right here where our hood support is, you can actually reach your hand and you can touch your fingers together right here. Then we're gonna pull up the wire, and then we're gonna tap into the back of the headlights. So because this wire is gonna be coming around these little edges in here, I'm gonna put a little bit of electrical tape on them because I don't want these edges right here rubbing through the wire and causing a short. And so what I'm doing right here is just adding a little bit of cushioning, so to speak, for this wire. So when it does get pulled up, it's not gonna get, jagged and frayed. I'm just gonna take this wire, I'm gonna run it up, catch it with my fingers behind here. I'm gonna reach back here behind this, behind our hood support, because I can touch my fingers there. I'm just gonna pass it off. And then I can start pulling it with one hand while carrying the light with the other hand. And I'm just gonna let the wire just hang out on top of the engine bay right now. So the way that this clips into place is behind this bracket right here. And sometimes I've heard of people where this won't connect. Sometimes it won't latch into place really well. So what you do is you take a little screwdriver right here and you're just gonna gently pull that out just a tad, trying to create a little bit of an edge for that to clip onto. Put the front in first. So right here, you can see when I push it in, it kind of wants to pop back out. And that's this piece right here that I was telling you about, that we got to bend it a little bit. Sometimes you might have to bend it just a tad bit more. Now, before we put our fender liner back, we want to make sure we can get this wire all wired up. But I'm going to do a test, one more test run on it right now, just to make sure that the light still functions. All right, just to give you kind of a heads up on where we're at. Thankfully on the Civic Type Rs, at least in the US, this piece is exposed. If you have one of the versions from the United Kingdom or elsewhere, this will be covered with plastic. Okay, so right here you can see I've got the wire pulled up through here, but I don't want it coming over this right here. I kind of want it to be nice and hidden. And there is a little bit of a crack. You can see where my finger is pointing, there's a crack. This crack also runs underneath this black piece. And what I'm gonna try to do is run this down through that crack. You see how I can get the wire to come out right here? I want it to come out just a little bit lower where my finger is, right here. So I kept pushing it till it came out there. I want to get that out of the engine bay. Perfect. I also put a piece of heat shrink on here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna push that heat shrink back to where it rubs on any metal. All right, I'm gonna try to be as careful as I can and hold this camera steady. This plug right here, we're gonna pull that out. All right, so here's our plug right here. You can see all these different colored wires in here. From what I'm told two different things. I'm told that it's either this green wire right here that we gotta tap into, or it's this tan wire. I don't wanna start cutting into those and tap into the wrong one, so we're gonna test it. The way we're gonna test it is we're gonna strip a little bit off of our wire here. I'm gonna see which plug this green wire is going to. And I'm just gonna plug it in just like this. Then I'm gonna turn my hazards on and see if that light starts blinking. Looks like it is definitely the green wire on the passenger side of the car. Once I turn that off, the light now switches back to being white instead of amber. Now that we know 100% that we're gonna be tapping into this green wire back here, now we just gotta take our razor knife, cut just a little bit of this liner back so we can get access to that. Then we're gonna tap the red wire in with it. Let me show you how that's done. I'm gonna start by just peeling this back very, very gently. I'm gonna just peel it back on the side of the wire, cut between two little wires. Like I said, guys, be very careful doing this. Just one little layer at a time. Then underneath that is a little bit of electrical tape that we're gonna just kind of cut through. And don't worry, guys, we're gonna tape all this back up before we're done. We're not gonna let any wires be exposed. So inside of our kit, we're going to take one of our wire taps here. But before we actually start tapping into this wire, we wanna see where we want this wire to be living after we plug it back in. So you wanna make sure you don't have too much excess wire, but you also wanna make sure you don't have too little. There's a crevice behind the headlight that I'm gonna be tucking this wire into. All right, cool. So I'm gonna just cut a little bit more than what I think I might need. I'm gonna clip it. Now I have seen a couple of people online who are using these wire taps, and some people say that they can't get a connection with it, but some people say that they're totally able to get a connection with it. So we're just gonna have to test it and see. And if you're new to this, essentially, the way that this works is we're gonna put the red wire, let's just say for example purposes, through this side here. If you look at the outside little guy here on the outside of this wire tap, you're gonna notice a little bit of a split in the middle, and that's how we're gonna slide the green wire in. So you see that? Now we can compress this and slide the green wire right on through, just like that. Okay? Now, what we gotta do is we're gonna close this like that. And now we just squeeze it with a pair of pliers. Okay, note to self, don't use the pliers that come on your wire strippers. They're not strong enough. Use some channel locks. Just like that. So before I start cutting wires and taping everything up, I'm just gonna plug this back into the headlight. And now we're gonna do a function test to make sure that the blinker works as well as the daytime running lights. And as you can see, the wire tap was not successful. So let's go to plan B. So my guess is these wire taps that they provide are probably too cheap and they're just not cutting through the wire. Let's remove this one. Thankfully, they come off just as easily as they went on. So if you look at that wire right here, you can see it did pinch it, but it didn't cut through it. I'm gonna be very careful, and I'm gonna take my razor wire. I'm gonna peel a little bit of that skin back to expose it, being very, very careful. And we're gonna do the same thing to this red wire. So if you look at this wire, it almost cut through, but it just wasn't quite strong enough to cut completely through. So I'm gonna help it out as well. So you can see a little bit of the wire exposed. All right, so basically what I did was I reset this. Basically you just gotta push this blade back out. What I wanna do is I wanna make sure that these crimp on the areas that I have exposed. But you can see I basically have the exposed part of the wire resting on the tap. And I'm gonna do the same thing for this wire as well. And as you can see, it is now working. All right, so now that we know that it works, I'm gonna pull this cable back out, and we're gonna clip this end off that we're not using. Keep everything watertight. I'll wrap it up with some electrical tape. All right, so you can see here, I've got it nice and tidied up. The wire is just tucked underneath back here, but there's nothing dangling. One of the main reasons I didn't want anything dangling is right back here, their turbocharger, right here where my finger is. That's the wastegate, and the turbo's back in here. So there's gonna be a lot of heat coming this way. But number two, my belt, my serpentine belt is down there, and I don't want that red cable getting all twisted up into that. And for any of this red wire that's still remaining back over here, which you can see, I'm gonna use the provided zip ties to tie it off and get it out of the way. So now that we know that everything is working, we got all our wires tied up, now let's put our screws and put our fender liner back into place. Now we gotta go do the other side, because there is one thing that is completely different on the other side, and let me show you that. What we just did was the passenger side. On the driver's side, everything is the same except for one thing, and that's which color wire we are gonna tap into. We wanna tap into this blue wire. All right, so I got these installed. We're testing it. We just got it plugged into the blue wire. So basically all we gotta do is repeat the steps we did on the passenger side and we will be done. Back up top. All right, cool. So that actually wasn't too bad, was it? Now, let me talk about the headlight overlays first because there's a couple things about those that I'm kind of about. Number one, they come in two different types of colors. I'll make sure to throw the links down below. They got light smoke and dark smoke. I originally ordered the light smoke. They looked really good after I put them on. However, when you turn the lights on, they looked like they were hazy underneath. And I was looking at the outside of it with the light on and it looked like I scratched the crap out of the film. I yanked the film off, I ordered another set in the dark smoke, and then I installed those. And they look exactly the same when the lights are on. It's almost like there's a haze going on between the film and the headlight unit. Now, after I removed the light smoke, when I checked my headlights to make sure there was no scratches on it or anything, and the headlights were perfectly clear. So I don't know if it's because of the quality of the film or what's going on. Maybe you know, let me know down in the comments what's going on here. But the main thing that I want to kind of point out here is they look dead sexy with the dark smoke. With the daytime running lights cut out, it looks from a distance almost just like the Jay's Racing headlights. Spoiler alert, I'm actually going to get a set of headlights that are basically the same as Jay's Racing, but they're going to be half the price. I'll have a video on that in the future, so if you want to watch that, hit the subscribe button. I mean, seriously, half the price. The Jay's Racing headlights are like $1,600. The lowest I've seen is 12, and these are way less than that, like way less. Overall, I think they make the car look really good. When the lights are off, you can't see any haze, but when the lights come on, you can, so that may or may not be a deal breaker for you. I'm kind of still undecided about it. In regards to the yellow tint for the fog lights, I love those. Those look absolutely amazing. They're beautiful, crystal clear. I would suggest doing this as soon as you get your car, especially if your car is new, because headlights and taillights tend to take a lot of chips from bugs and rock and debris. And the sooner you can do this, the better it's gonna look, because once you get those chips on there, it's gonna be kind of hard to get them off. It definitely changed the color for the better. I was worried that the yellow wouldn't be dramatic enough, but it's definitely crazy dramatic. That's probably one of the best overlay mods I've ever done, and they're like less than 20 bucks. Now, in regards to these bad boys, these weren't as bad as I thought they would be. I watched a bunch of different install videos. The main reason I wanted to make an install video is because I felt like I could do a better job. I mean, just not trying to toot my own horn. I just like, wow, these guys got shaky cameras all over the place. This is not fun. If you're uncomfortable doing the splicing, doing the crimp splicing that comes with this, then you can do it with a soldering iron. I didn't really want to do it with a soldering iron because all of the mods that I'm trying to do to this car, I want them to be completely reversible. In case I ever want to sell this car, I can put everything back to stock OEM and I can sell it later. So all I got to do is take that off. I can put a little bit of a heat shrink around the OEM headlight wire and it's as good as new. But they definitely work as advertised. The blinkers look amazing. And I really like the smoke look against the red color of the car. I kind of feel like this. If you have a lighter colored Civic, I think the smoked ones look better. And if you have a darker colored Civic, I feel like the clear ones look better. That's just my personal opinion, but the Euro spec uses clear on all models. So I'll make sure to throw links to these down in the description below. They work as advertised. The only con I have about any of this is the headlight overlays having that haze when the headlights are on at night. Let me know what you guys think about it down in the comments section below. Also, if you have any questions that I didn't answer in this video, put those down there as well. I'll do my best to respond to them. But until next time, I love you. You guys stay sexy.